My stepmom stole my tuition money and framed me for theft. Hey Reddit, so I'm Ethan, 23, and I'm in a mess. My mom died a few years ago, and my dad remarried this woman, Brenda. He's totally wrapped around her finger, which is a problem because she seems to hate me. I live with them, working part-time while in college, and I'm starting to think Brenda is trying to sabotage my entire life. She's always been kind of cold, but lately it's like she's actively trying to make me miserable. I know it sounds crazy, but I think there's something seriously wrong here. Am I overreacting, or is my stepmom actually trying to ruin me? It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are when my tuition bill is due. I'd been working double shifts to make sure I had enough, meticulously tracking every penny in my savings account. I logged in ready to pay, and it was gone, like almost all of it. My stomach dropped. I felt this wave of nausea wash over me. I'm talking room spinning, can't breathe nausea. No way, this couldn't be happening. I frantically checked the transaction history. No withdrawals, no transfers, nothing that explained where nearly $5,000 had vanished into thin air. I felt like I was going to throw up. My mind raced. Had I been hacked? Was there some kind of bank error? Then Brenda's voice slithered into my head. Just the day before, she'd made this snide comment about how some people are just bad with money. At the time, I'd brushed it off, but now it felt like a punch to the gut. I stumbled out of my room, still in shock, and confronted her. Brenda, I managed to choke out. My tuition money, it's gone. She looked at me with this fake concern plastered on her face, and then, she actually had the audacity to suggest I must have spent it and forgotten. Are you sure, Ethan? Sometimes we lose track of things. Maybe you took out cash. I could feel the blood draining from my face. $5,000, Brenda. You think I forgot about withdrawing $5,000? My dad walked in right then, of course. He didn't even ask me what was wrong. He just jumped straight to Brenda's defense. Ethan, don't talk to Brenda like that. She's just trying to help. Maybe you need to be more responsible with your finances. Responsible? I wanted to scream. This woman had just robbed me of my future, and he was lecturing me about responsibility. I felt this cold dread creep into my bones. Something was seriously wrong here, and I was completely alone. My hands were shaking. I could feel the anger boiling up inside me. Dad, this isn't about being responsible. The money is gone, vanished. And Brenda's acting like I'm some kind of idiot who can't keep track of his own savings. Brenda put on this wounded expression, like I was the one attacking her. Ethan, I'm just worried about you. It's a lot of money. Maybe you just need to think harder about where it went. Think harder. I wanted to punch something. I know I didn't spend it. I've been saving for months. I check my balance practically every day. My dad sighed, this long-suffering sigh that made me want to crawl out of my skin. He sat down heavily on the couch, rubbing his temples. Ethan, he said, his voice weary, you're being disrespectful. Brenda's only trying to help. Just apologize and let's move on. Apologize? Apologize for what? For having my money stolen. For daring to question the woman who was probably behind it all. Apologize? I repeated, my voice rising. I'm supposed to apologize for having my tuition money stolen. Brenda put a hand on my dad's arm, her eyes wide and innocent. Honey, maybe he's just stressed about school. He didn't mean to be rude. My dad patted her hand, giving me this look of disappointment that felt like a physical blow. Ethan, that's enough. Go to your room and think about how you've spoken to your stepmother. That's enough. He was seriously taking her side. I felt this dizzying wave of disbelief wash over me. This wasn't normal. This wasn't a regular family disagreement. This was something else entirely, something sinister. I stared at them, my own father and the woman he'd chosen over me, and in that moment I knew. I was completely and utterly alone. I didn't say another word. I just turned and walked away, the bile rising in my throat. I went to my room and slammed the door, the sound echoing the hollow feeling in my chest. I sank onto my bed, my head in my hands, trying to process what had just happened. How could my own father believe her over me? How could he be so blind? And Brenda, that smug, self-satisfied look on her face, I knew then. I knew she was behind it, and I knew I had to do something. But what? I was trapped. Completely and utterly trapped. A week later and things have gone from bad to nuclear. Brenda's little, concerned stepmother act has completely vanished. Now she's just openly hostile. It's like she's enjoying torturing me. She's constantly criticizing everything I do, from how I fold my laundry to the way I breathe. I swear if I blink wrong, she'll find a way to make it a personal affront. Last night she actually threw out a bunch of my clothes, said they were cluttering up the house and didn't fit her aesthetic. They were my clothes. The ones my mom bought me. I almost lost it. Where are my shirts? I asked, trying to keep my voice even though I was shaking with rage. Oh, those old things. Brenda said, not even looking up from her magazine. I donated them. You should be grateful, Ethan. Consider it a closet cleanse. A closet cleanse. My mom bought me those shirts. You threw out my clothes, I repeated, my voice rising. Without asking me, Brenda finally looked up, a smirk playing on her lips. Well, they weren't exactly designer, were they? I thought you'd appreciate an upgrade. An upgrade? I wanted to scream. My dad, of course, sided with her. Ethan, don't be dramatic, they were just old shirts. Brenda was trying to be helpful. Helpful? Are you kidding me? And then the kicker, Brenda called her sister. Apparently her sister's son Justin is struggling financially and could really use some nice clothes. So she gave him my clothes. The clothes my mom bought me, to her nephew. I'm actually speechless. This morning it got even worse. Brenda's sister and her precious son Justin showed up at the house. Justin was wearing my shirt, the vintage band tee my mom got me for my birthday. He had the nerve to smile at me. I saw red. Nice shirt, I said through gritted teeth. He just shrugged. Thanks, my aunt said you didn't want it anymore. I wanted to punch him in the face. Brenda chimed in, all sweet and innocent. Isn't it nice that Justin can get some use out of your old things, Ethan? See, it all worked out. Worked out? For whom? I couldn't take it anymore. I just walked out. I'm sitting in my car now, trying to figure out what to do. I can't stay here. This isn't a home anymore, it's a torture chamber. My own father is blindly following this woman, and I'm the one being punished. I have to get out. I have to, but how? I have nowhere to go, no money, no clothes, thanks, Brenda. I'm starting to think I'm actually going insane. Reddit, I'm seriously at my wit's end. What do? I'm desperate. I finally broke down and told Liam everything. We were at our usual spot, the Greasy Spoon diner we've been hitting up since high school. I'd been avoiding him, honestly, ashamed of how pathetic I'd become. But I couldn't keep it bottled up anymore. It all came pouring out. The missing money, Brenda's constant jabs, the clothes, Justin's smug face, everything. At first I was hesitant, downplaying it, trying to make it sound like I was overreacting. She's just, difficult, I mumbled, picking at my fries. Maybe I'm being sensitive. Liam just stared at me, his brow furrowed. Dude, he said slowly, she threw out your clothes, your mom's clothes. And gave them to her nephew. That's not normal, Ethan. I shrugged, trying to play it cool, even though my insides were twisting. Yeah, well, she said they didn't fit her aesthetic. I made air quotes, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Liam slammed his hand on the table, making me jump. Aesthetic? Ethan, are you serious? She's gaslighting you. This isn't about clothes, man, this is about control. Gaslighting. I repeated, the word unfamiliar but strangely fitting. Yeah, man, Liam said, leaning in, his voice low and serious. She's making you doubt your own sanity, making you think you're the problem. It's classic manipulative behavior. He went on to explain what gaslighting actually was, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head. Everything suddenly clicked into place. Brenda's constant criticisms, her fake concern, the way she twisted everything to make me look bad, it was all deliberate. It was all part of a plan. Think about it, Ethan, Liam said, his eyes narrowed. The missing money, the constant harassment, it's all connected. She's after something. After something, that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about making my life miserable. This was about something bigger, something sinister. But what? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. What could she possibly want? Liam shrugged. I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. We need to start documenting everything. Every interaction, every conversation, every weird thing she does. We need proof. Proof. The word resonated with me. I'd been so focused on just surviving that I hadn't even thought about gathering evidence. I felt a surge of something. Not quite hope, but maybe a flicker of determination. You're right, I said, my voice stronger now. We need proof. I need to fight back. Liam grinned, clapping me on the shoulder. That's my boy. We'll take this bitch down. And in that moment, sitting across from my best friend in that Greasy Spoon diner, something shifted inside me. The fear and self-doubt didn't disappear completely, but they were replaced by something else. Something powerful. I was no longer a victim. I was a fighter, and I was finally ready to fight back. I came home from class, exhausted but relieved. I had aced my midterm, and for a brief moment, things felt almost normal. Then I opened my bedroom door. My room was trashed. Clothes ripped from the closet and strewn across the floor. Drawers pulled out, their contents dumped and scattered. My textbooks, the ones I'd spent a fortune on, were torn and defaced. And then I saw it. Lying on my bed amidst the wreckage was a handwritten note. I'm sorry, it read in shaky, uneven letters. I took the money, and I've been stealing from the neighbors too. I can't stop, please forgive me. It was signed with my name, MY forged signature. My blood ran cold. I picked up the note, my hands trembling. The paper felt cheap and flimsy, like something you'd find in a dollar store notebook. The ink was smudged, almost as if someone had tried to make it look more authentic. But the handwriting, it was a pathetic attempt at mimicking mine. It was so obviously fake. So obviously BRENDA. I felt this wave of nausea wash over me, followed by a surge of white-hot rage. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This wasn't about the constant criticisms or the petty insults. This was about destroying me. She was trying to frame me, to ruin my reputation, to make me look like a thief, a criminal. I sank onto my bed, the chaos around me reflecting the storm raging inside me. My chest ached, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. I felt violated, exposed. Like everything I had ever worked for, everything I had ever believed in was crumbling around me. And then something snapped. The fear, the self-doubt, the crippling anxiety, it all vanished. In its place was a cold, hard determination. I was done being a victim. Done letting this woman control my life. Done cowering in fear. I stood up, my legs shaking but my resolve firm. I picked up my phone and called Liam. She did it, I said, my voice trembling but firm. She framed me, she planted a fake confession in my room. I knew it, Liam roared. I'm coming over, we're ending this. As I hung up the phone, I looked around my destroyed room, my eyes landing on the forged note still clutched in my hand. This wasn't a setback. This was a declaration of war, and I was ready to fight. I was going to expose Brenda for the monster she was, no matter the cost. This was MY life, and I was taking it back. Okay, Reddit, buckle up, because this is where the real fight begins. After finding that forged confession, I knew I couldn't just confront Brenda without solid proof. I needed to catch her red-handed. This wasn't just about getting my dad to see the truth, it was about protecting myself. So here's the plan Liam and I concocted. Evidence gathering, hidden camera, this was priority number one. Liam, bless his tech-savvy soul, helped me install a tiny, practically invisible camera in my room, angled perfectly to capture my desk and the surrounding area. We tested it multiple times, making sure the footage was clear and the audio was crisp. We even set up a cloud backup just in case. Paranoia? Maybe. But better safe than sorry. Documentation. I became a meticulous record keeper. Every interaction with Brenda, no matter how small, was documented. Text messages, screenshotted and saved. Phone calls, recorded. Weird comments, jotted down in a notebook and backed up on a separate device, of course. I even started keeping a log of when she entered and left the house, just in case it became relevant. I was building a case, people. A rock-solid, airtight case. Strategy, the bait. I purposely left some cash, not a lot, just enough to be tempting in a seemingly careless spot in my room. It was agonizing, knowing she might take it, but it was necessary to get her ON camera. The witness. Liam agreed to be nearby, monitoring the camera feed remotely. If Brenda took the bait, he would be our witness, ready to burst in at the right moment. We even practiced the bursting in part a few times, just to be sure we had the timing down. We were like a two-man SWAT team, ready to take down a domestic terrorist. Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but you get the idea. The confrontation. We decided to confront Brenda in front of my dad. It was crucial for him to see the truth with his own eyes. We knew it would be difficult, that he might not believe us, but we had to try. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about saving my dad from this manipulative woman. Support system, Liam, my rock, my confidant, my co-conspirator. He was invaluable throughout this entire ordeal. Without him, I honestly don't know what I would have done. Therapy, I started seeing a therapist. I needed someone objective to talk to, someone who could help me process the trauma and strategize. It was incredibly helpful, and I highly recommend it to anyone dealing with a similar situation. Mental and emotional preparation. This was the hardest part. I had to steel myself for the possibility that my plan might backfire, that my dad might not believe me, that Brenda might find a way to twist the situation to her advantage. I had to prepare for the worst-case scenario. I spent hours visualizing the confrontation, playing out different scenarios in my head. I practiced staying calm, staying focused, staying strong. I reminded myself why I was doing this, to reclaim my life, to protect myself, and to finally expose the truth. I was terrified, but I was also determined. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. It was about taking back control, and I was ready. I was finally ready. This was it. Game on, Brenda. Game, on. The tension in the living room was thick enough to cut with a knife. My dad sat on the couch looking bewildered. Brenda, perched beside him, wore her usual mask of fake concern. Liam stood by the window, phone in hand, a barely concealed smirk playing on his lips. I stood opposite them, my heart pounding against my ribs, a USB drive clutched in my hand. Ethan, my dad began, his voice laced with weary exasperation. What is all this about? Liam called and said you had something important to show us. What's going on? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. Dad, I said, my voice shaking slightly, I know you won't believe me, but I have to show you this. I walked over to the TV and plugged in the USB drive. The screen flickered to life, displaying the footage from the hidden camera in my room. There, in grainy black and white, was Brenda. She entered my room, her movements furtive and calculated. She went straight to my desk, rummaged through my things, and then she pulled out the fake confession note. She placed it carefully on my bed, smoothing it out with her hand, a triumphant smirk spreading across her face. It was undeniable. Irrefutable, damning. My dad stared at the screen, his mouth agape. Brenda's face paled, her eyes wide with panic. The smug composure she usually wore had completely vanished, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated terror. What is this? My dad stammered, his voice barely a whisper. It's the truth, Dad, I said, my voice stronger now, steadier. It's Brenda, she's been framing me. She stole my tuition money, and then she planted that note to make me look like a thief. Brenda finally found her voice, though it was shaky and high-pitched. Ethan, this is ridiculous, it's not what it looks like. Really? I challenged, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Then explain what it does look like, Brenda. She sputtered, trying to come up with an explanation, but the words wouldn't come. The footage spoke for itself. She was caught. Red handed. My dad turned to Brenda, his eyes filled with a mixture of disbelief and hurt. Brenda, he said, his voice trembling, is this true? She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. She just stared at him, her eyes pleading, desperate. But the lie was etched on her face. The truth was undeniable. The power dynamic in the room had shifted. The fear and anxiety that had been plaguing me for weeks evaporated, replaced by a sense of righteous anger and, strangely, relief. My dad slowly turned back to the screen, replaying the footage in his mind. He looked like a man who had just had his entire world shattered. He looked broken. Get out, he said quietly, his voice barely audible. He wasn't looking at Brenda. He was staring at the floor, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Honey, please, Brenda pleaded, her voice cracking. You have to believe me, this is all a misunderstanding. Get out, my dad repeated, his voice stronger now, filled with a cold, hard fury I had never heard before. I don't want to see you again. Brenda's face crumpled. She knew she was beaten. She stood up, her legs unsteady, and without another word, she walked out of the room, out of the house, and out of our lives. The silence that followed was deafening. My dad sat on the couch, his head in his hands, his body shaking with silent sobs. Liam put a hand on my shoulder, squeezing it reassuringly. I had won. I had finally exposed the truth, but the victory felt hollow. The damage had been done. Our family had been shattered. But in the midst of the wreckage, I felt a flicker of hope. The truth was out. And maybe, just maybe, we could start to rebuild. It's been 6 months since Brenda stormed out of the house, a scene forever seared into my memory. The immediate aftermath was rough. My dad was a wreck. He blamed himself, of course, for being so blind, so easily manipulated. There were a lot of tears, a lot of apologies, a lot of uncomfortable silences. It was like walking on eggshells. We eventually started talking, really talking, about what happened. It was painful but necessary. He admitted he'd been so caught up in the idea of having a family again that he ignored all the red flags. He'd been so lonely after my mom died, so vulnerable that Brenda had swooped in and filled that void, expertly manipulating him in the process. He was ashamed, heartbroken, and utterly lost. The legal stuff was a mess. We never did recover all of my tuition money. Brenda apparently blew through a good chunk of it. We filed a police report, but honestly, I didn't hold out much hope for getting anything back. It was a long shot. We were just grateful to be rid of her. It's been a slow process, but things are better. My dad and I are rebuilding our relationship. We're going to therapy together, which has been surprisingly helpful. We're learning to communicate again, to trust each other again. It's not perfect, and there are still moments of tension, but we're getting there, slowly but surely. I moved out a few weeks after the confrontation. I needed space. I needed to reclaim my independence. I'm living with Liam now, and it's been great having his support. He's been my rock through all of this. True friendship. I don't know what I would have done without him. I'm back in school, working part-time and focusing on my future. I had to take out some loans to cover the rest of my tuition, which sucks, but I'm determined to graduate. This whole experience has taught me a lot about resilience, about trusting my instincts, and about the importance of setting boundaries. I've learned to recognize red flags a mile away. I'm also a lot more cautious about who I let into my life. Trust no one. Okay, maybe that's a bit extreme, but you get the idea. There are still scars, of course. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still get anxious when I think about Brenda. And I'm still working through the anger and resentment I feel towards my dad. But I'm healing. I'm moving forward. I'm taking it one day at a time. I know this was a long one, but I wanted to share my story, my update with you all. Your support and advice meant the world to me during the darkest days. I'm curious, has anyone else gone through something similar? What are your thoughts on how I handled things? Any advice for moving forward? Let me know in the comments.